Jeff, good to see you. I wanted to end the weekend with or end the weekend, get into the weekend with a discussion with you because um, I love this book that you've got out, the updated version of this, because we talk about DEI and woke culture and everything, but at the end of the day, like it still comes back to good parenting when it comes to raising kids. And I think the lessons that you offer in this book. I mean, two of your kids are naval officers. One made the mistake of following your footsteps at West Point, and then I don't know what other. But the thing that I thought was so fascinating after you and I were connecting and I was reading some of the stuff is this principle of showing up that you talk about in the book in sports. So walk us through why you've kind of honed in on that one thing.
Yeah, because what you're doing, Sean, is and by the way, it's a privilege to be on, my friend. This is great. Long time no see and all that. You're modeling for your kid what you want them to be. And this may sound, a little bit out there, but I showed up to virtually everything that they ever did at their school, even sometimes driving from downtown, from the Hill, or from HHS, GAO, wherever, all the way to a game. It might be in Baltimore, it might be in Bethesda, and then driving back at night. The reason I did it was they always felt better, I felt, seeing the old man on the sideline, even if they weren't even going to get in the game. And the second thing I did is I always wore a suit and tie or a jacket and tie, because I would tell them, these games mean a lot to you. The wins are huge, the losses hurt. And so I'm trying to show respect for what you guys are trying to do, and that I'm behind you 100%.
Yeah, I was going to go there because that's when I read that part of it, I was like, oh, come on, Nelligan, don't do this to me, because I'm not perfect, but my parents were always there for me. Always. They showed up at everything, practices, whatever. And I wanted to be that same way, kind of like you're talking about with my kids. Like, so if there's something, I try to show up. But then I'm reading this thing about, I show up in a coat and tie. There's one example, you're warming up the lacrosse goalie in a suit. And I'm like, I don't even wear a tie here, and you're getting dressed up for games. Now, here's the thing. I guess my question is, and on Saturdays I roll in sweatpants and a t-shirt, but I get your point. But I mean, I'll wear a suit and tie or something to church or something. But why do you deem it so important to get all dressed up? Because now I'm feeling now I'm feeling guilty. I was like, okay.
Well, most of the times I was coming from work because they were weekday games, weekday school events, a parent-teacher conference. On the weekends, yeah, I would tone it down. I might wear just a collared shirt, long pants, but it was the idea that, the respect that I had for them and the coaches and their teammates. And I was doing this even when Junior was at West Point playing rugby, on a national championship team as a first-team All-American. I would show up. But then when he went to the pros, got a waiver from Secretary of Defense Austin, I figured I didn't have to set any examples anymore, because this guy was in the pros and he was setting now an example for me.
I think that it's so interesting because in this day and age, it's almost like his parents were competing with phones. Like when I try to have a rule, like when we're eating dinner, it's, hey, no phones. Even in the car, I try to say, all right, guys, we're going to talk to each other. But it's harder and harder, I think, and yet more and more important for parents to play that role in society today.
Yeah, it is. And, the parents have to be the bad guy. A typical teen, just a few stats, spends 8 hours and 47 minutes on a day on a phone, and that doesn't include schoolwork. And Pew notes just last December that 48% of kids say that they spend virtually the entire day online. YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Those are the three biggest sites. And the parent has just got to be the bad guy and say, no more. And it takes, there's going to be friction and there's going to be arguments, but limiting the access to that digital device is key, because a kid on a digital device is in a passive mode, taking in all of the sewer that is the interweb. So My kids didn't get a phone until they were in 11th grade, at the end of 11th grade. And we used
Oh,
to have
good for you.
contests, Sean, you'll love this, who could come home with a phone the most charged. And so they would come back to the house with 98, 99% charged, knowing that they hadn't really used it during the day.
That's like actually that's kind of a great. I don't know that it'll work anymore. My kids would be like, "Yeah, I'll lose right now." Um, the thing that's interesting is you talk about the role of sports and how they play a critical role in the kids' discovery process and their growth and what they learn to like and not like and how to fit in. Is it your contention? Is it? I mean, I get your experience with your kids was largely sports, but let's say a parent's watching this right now, a grandparent saying, "Hey, my kid's not athletically inclined or whatever." Like, what is it? Is it your case that it's got to be sports, or could it be drama club or band?
Great point. Because every kid is not going to be good at sports. I mean, I don't know what you played at Portsmouth Abbey, but I will tell you some of the best times of my life were spent at your school on a lacrosse field many, many summers. Um, but you're exactly right. Not every kid's going to be good at sports, and there's going to be plenty of kids who are sitting on the bench for 6 or 7 years. Band, drama club, you know, the theater, the robotics club, the scouts, anything that puts a kid in a group of like-minded individuals with supportive parents where they're working towards a goal and they have to get along with each other, even if they don't like some of the people that they're with. It's essential for building that kind of character that ultimately leads, like, my three sons, the two naval officers and the one wayward Army officer, um, being able to have that personal conduct, that confidence, that resilience in adversity, and finally developing that ambition to get better every day.
I think the other thing that I thought was great is that you talk about the importance of losses, and I actually a huge believer in that as well because I it's not just losses, but it's going through things you don't like. I tell people all the time, one of the best internships I ever had is the one that I hated the most because it taught me what I don't like as much as what I like. But I think that there's part of this is that if everything is roses and buttercups and rainbows, then you never experience adversity and you never learn to be tough. And there are lessons from losses. There's a sense of, as we say in the military, AAR is like looking at what could we have done better? How can we improve? How much more do I need to work out? How much more do I need to practice? But that comes through losing sometimes.
Yeah, it's losing is essential. I mean, because, an AAR, your after action report, just like you say, no one gets a free ride in life. And a kid hitting a bind or an obstacle on Monday is going to hit one on Thursday, just like every adult hits them. We've all had
Yeah.
them, and particularly in politics. But the idea of losing and just taking a look at yourself and say, hey, wait a minute, you can't get complacent with this. You've got to change. And that's the best kind of forge a kid is going to go through. And ultimately, he's going to win or start to win.
Yeah. I do love the fact that you go through that it's not just the game itself, but it's also the, tucking in your shirt, looking a coach in the eye, learning how to shake a good hand. I mean, there's an aspect of like life and lessons in that, washing your own uniform, things like that I think are helpful. But I want to end it on a Friday with like this. You touched on something where you say humor is the operative factor for reaching a kid. No kid responds to lectures, but responds to a gag, a one-liner, a quip. Is there anything that was your go-to?
Always self-deprecation of myself. Always just saying, hey, your dad's not this good at that, or yeah, he's dropping every 10th ball you're throwing to him on a lacrosse field. Your dad's got to get better, and always that humor that, once I lost my job at the end of the Bush 43, and we were all sent home, and sitting there on a field at Landon up there in Bethesda, we were throwing the ball around, and I said, let's go get the donuts. And a kid said, wait a minute, Dad, you just lost your job. We don't have the money. And I said, guys, it's the end of the world, in this very mocking kind of tone. I said, look, we're going to be fine. I'll rally. I got to get better at throwing it downfield. And I'll tell you, the minute we can't afford those donuts, I will tell you. But for now, the operative word is it's the end of the world. Ha, ha, ha. And that completely changed the way they approach, just as you say, those losses that they encountered in their own lives.
All right, Jeff. Again, the name of the book is 4 Lessons for My 3 Sons, How You Can Raise Resilient Kids. So excited to reconnect and glad and so proud of you for the second edition of this book.
Hey, thanks, man. It means a lot. It does.
You bet. All right, take care.
All right, man.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us on this Friday. We will be back on Monday. Go to my newsletter, SeanSpicer.com. Sign up for exclusive behind-the-scenes info and pictures, all sorts of fun. We'll be back at 9 a.m. live on this channel for the morning meeting, and then 6 o'clock today, we're going to continue to bring you insight in all the nominations and the happenings of the Trump administration. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.